Okay, good evening, everyone. I will now call our budget work session to order. And the clerk will show that it's 7:26 PM. And as usual, members of the public are always welcome, and welcome to our guests who are here in person tonight. But members of our community can watch the meeting at burnsvillemn.gov/meetings, or watch us on Comcast channel 16 or 859. And the public can also participate through Zoom by joining us at zoom.us/join. And more information is available on our meetings webpage and in the council agenda packet. So we have one item on our budget work session this evening, and that is our organizational analysis. And Mike Tracy, our HR director, is presenting. The floor is yours, Mike.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. We are here to talk about the organizational analysis. So this is the kickoff to the 2027 budget budget process. So just as a little bit of a background about the organizational analysis. So the original OA, or organizational analysis, was adopted back in 2023. It was designed to be a 4-year plan to catch us up to 2022 staffing levels by adding 56 FTE over those 4 years across various departments. That work, as we sit here now in 2026, is largely complete. We've added 58.4 FTE across the organization, with the majority of those, or an emphasis of those, in police and fire. So as I move to this slide, you'll see that the plan has shifted from when it was 4 years ago. So in 2023, when the original organizational analysis was proposed, that first column there, which says planned FTE, is kind of what we originally had anticipated with the OA in terms of positions that we'd be adding to those departments. The middle column, which is the implemented FTE, is as of today, 2026, the actual positions that were added to those departments over the course of these 4 years. And then that last column is the investment in those positions or in those personnel in 2026 dollars. So you'll see, with the 58.4 FTE, it was a slight increase from the 56, and that's because we had the police Excel study as well as the standards of cover that came out since the original OA was presented. And as you'll see, to kind of fund some of those additional police and fire positions that were identified as needs, we shifted some positions from other non-public safety positions to help ease the burden to implement those police and fire positions. So we've
And I
learned.
think it'll be good for you to let the community know that we're fully, the police and fire are in full compliance now with all of the positions that they need.
Yep. The police department's fully staffed. The fire department is obviously, with the safer grants that were added in 2026. They're hard at work right now trying to fill that with the Spring Academy close approaching. But yeah, very exciting and great news that we have.
Because it's the first time that, since 1996, I think, with the first police master plan, and we got the Clinton cops to jumpstart. But it's been a challenge getting police to be fully staffed.
Absolutely. I think it's not a lot of agencies can say that these days. So it's a credit to a lot of things. I think, as we talk about through the organizational analysis, our compensation plan's working, our emphasis on well-being, the culture that the police department and the fire department have built are all contributing to having not only fully staffed, but great professionals out there who are doing great work for the community.
Yeah. And Chief BJ, this is the first time that you're fully staffed too, right?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, we're working on it right now. We have a few open positions with retirements.
But you're funded for it, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're funded, yes. I mean,
Yeah, because I know that you're still, 3 down?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I mean, we're essentially 3 down, and then we're planning on adding those safer firefighters in the Spring Academy, so
Yeah,
I would say it's a bit of a moving target.
okay. Yeah, Greg, did you have something to add?
Mayor, members of the council, I would just add to, excuse me, to the chief's comments that the fire standard of cover
Yeah.
includes an additional, I believe, 13 positions that
Yeah.
currently are not contemplated for funding outside of those 9 additional safer funded positions. It's our intention after this presentation during the 2027 budget process to come back and to talk about those positions. And as we get through the presentation here tonight, you'll see how we plan to address those types of needs moving forward, using the organizational analysis to inform department requests that ultimately come before the council in the form of a recommended or a proposed budget for your consideration, redirection, and ultimately your adoption.
Okay, thank you.
So there's been some lessons that we've learned over these 4 years regarding the organizational analysis. First and foremost, it's a snapshot in time, as I talked about back in 2023. We had a plan, and then 4 years later, that's shifted as community needs have changed, and organizational needs have changed. And so just important for us to keep that in mind. And then effective staffing decisions require organizational and data-driven approach. We do a lot of operational studies to help inform these staffing needs that turn into budget requests and future priority discussions. And then, staffing decisions must be future-focused and flexible. And you'll see this as we present this new plan to council tonight, that it looks a little bit different than the previous organizational analysis did, as we try to incorporate kind of that flexible path forward. So we've done some current enhancements. Service demand and community expectations drive our staffing needs. So those operational studies are very important for us to inform staffing requests and those priority discussions. And then the organizational analysis directly is going to inform department budget presentations, department budget requests, as City Manager Lindbergh said just a few minutes ago. And then through the budget process, identifying those organizational priorities through the proposed budget. Future enhancements that we're looking at for future organizational analysis is conducting a citywide services study to define service levels and roles throughout the organization. Continue to complete those organizational or operational assessments and update ones that have been completed that are due for updating, and then incorporate market conditions into staffing need evaluations. The original organizational analysis compared us to market cities in terms of FTEs by department and overall. Reintroducing that into future organizational analysis so we can compare ourselves to other market cities. So as a reminder, the organizational analysis consists of 3 elements: service, staffing, and compensation. So first, focusing on service, it's an inventory of how we serve the community. We conduct a detailed service inventory to align the work of departments with the council's strategic priorities. So you'll see with you today and in our council packet for the public, we connect our jobs and the service that we provide to those council strategic priorities. We updated it this year to reflect changes in staffing and operations. This right here is just a quick at a glance for the service inventory. So you'll see it's broken down by department, the number of services that are provided by those departments, how many of them are mandated, either by state or federal statutes or regulations, and then that third column is FTE, so the staff resources that those departments have to do the work. The next component is staffing. So we have a high emphasis in organizational effectiveness. So we want to use our existing resources, the staff resources that we have, as effectively as we possibly can. So again, those operational studies are important, but also we examine the current use of resources. So if a position becomes vacant, we don't just necessarily go in and refill that position with the same with the same job description or even in the same department as it always has been. Just because we have that position, we really do an evaluation of are there other needs in the organization that are priorities that we could use that resource maybe more effectively. And then we use the organizational effectiveness and those conversations to inform those priority discussions through this budget process. So a little bit of framework when it comes to staffing. So needs is the staffing required to meet current service demands. Requests are going to be department directors, department leaders who are formally asking for staffing or requesting staffing resources through the budget process. And then those priority discussions, leadership team proposing to the city council for consideration regarding what positions to fund for 2027. So far, we've completed 4 operational studies: communications, standards of cover, IT, and police. And then this is the new staffing matrix. Looks a little bit different, like I said, from the previous organizational analysis. It doesn't have years where we're prescribing certain positions and certain departments getting resources in out years. What we're really doing is just showing existing staffing resources by department, and then those needs that have been identified through those operational studies that will be part of those budget presentations, department presentations, and priority discussions over the course of the next year as we look for 2027. And then compensation. So this is our strategy to attract, motivate, and retain people. So we look at compensation on a 2-year cycle in terms of how we manage our compensation plan. So internal alignment in even years, we review position descriptions, make sure that they're up to date. We run them through our position evaluation system. That work for 2026 has already started. A number of departments have already gotten the kickoff email from our HR team. So that work is continuing into 2026. And then in odd years, we conduct a market competitive study to ensure that we're aligned with our compensation strategy. And so in 2025, we completed that study using a consultant, DDA HR. The goal was to make sure that our pay is competitive and aligned with the strategy that council has set forward, respond to any labor market changes or challenges that might be approaching, and then support recruitment and service delivery goals, make sure that we can retain the great professionals that we have. And as a reminder, our strategy is to be in the top 75th percentile of our target market cities. So the results of the study were positive. We have a strong compensation plan. We are well aligned with our strategy. As you see here, 78% of our jobs are highly aligned or aligned with our strategy. There's about 22% of the jobs that are potentially misaligned or misaligned. And in general, best practice, 70 to 80% is considered good. 90% would be best in class. I don't know of an organization that would be 100%. I don't think we should ever expect to be at 100%, just because the market fluctuates a lot. And also the important thing to notice too is not every organization is the same. Structures are different. They might have similar job titles. Doesn't necessarily mean they have similar job responsibilities, and each community and organization is different. So there will be some fluctuation.
On the 22% of the potentially misaligned, you've identified those?
Yes, yep,
And so you know what the strategy is to get them into alignment?
yep. So we have, basically there's 2 ways to address those positions that are considered misaligned or potentially misaligned. You can either make an adjustment, or you can monitor them, hold them, and continue to monitor market conditions and other internal factors. So with those 24 positions that were considered potentially misaligned or misaligned, we've made adjustments on 8 of those positions. And then there's 16 that we're holding or monitoring moving forward. And there's various reasons why we're choosing to monitor those versus making changes. It could be, in some cases, that we're potentially looking at that department structure, and we don't necessarily want to touch a job while we continue to evaluate what that position or that department could look like. There's other positions that we know there's not necessarily strong comparables. So a good example on this is you'll see GIS manager is one that is showing is misaligned. There's not a lot of cities around us that have a GIS function. Or if they do, it's one individual who's responsible for that, and we have a manager with a staff person underneath it. So we're unique in that regard.
Yeah.
So there are some cases where we've decided we're going to monitor and hold and continue to see how market conditions respond.
And I think in fleet studies, wasn't there something about the fleet personnel, that you were going to monitor how many fleet personnel were going to be there, or adjust that?
Mayor, I don't recall anything regarding fleet personnel being on the monitoring list. We have, I don't know if there's any in Public Works.
Madam
Okay.
Mayor, Madam Mayor, members of the council, it's correct. Mike's correct. There was some contemplation in one of the recommendations of the fleet study
Yeah.
around fleet maintenance staffing. That
Fleet
has,
maintenance, yeah.
there's nothing in the market study results that are reflective of needs from a compensation
Okay.
perspective, as I understand it, to Mike's point.
Okay.
We do, one of our operational studies that's planned for the upcoming year or so is an operational study of the Public Works Department.
Yeah.
We then would adjust future years' organizational analysis based on what we see as that snapshot in time need informed by that
Okay.
study from a staffing perspective for the fleet function.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, because I remember reading about that in the report, in the fleet study report.
And all I have left is just next steps, unless there's more questions. But like I said, this is the kickoff to the budget process. March 25th, we had the financial management plan, and then this summer, we'll be doing department budget presentations, which will be diving more into these positional needs as those departments have the ones that the departments have identified as we go through budget priority discussions.
Okay. Members of the council, any questions, any comments? And this is a great kickoff because we're a service organization. So where all of our costs are in service, and that's personnel. And of course, water is the only product we have, but that's an enterprise that's separate from this, and so that's, yeah,
Nice job.
okay. So I was saying to Greg earlier, this is a huge improvement from the last one. It's very thorough, a lot more than. So I was trying to find the 23, I was talking to Bethany about it, because this one is very comprehensive as I went through the background and the agenda, and this is so much more thorough about who has the responsibility, what are the essential functions of each position, and then the impact in terms of in service to our community. And so nicely done. It's a lot of work.
Thank you, Mayor.
I mean,
It takes
it's-
the whole team, obviously. Like it is definitely a team effort to put this together. So, thank you.
But it's,
Madam
well, yeah.
Mayor, from a distance, I thought this was the budget. And I'm thinking, we haven't started it yet. How did it get so big so quick? And then I saw service inventory. I'm like, wow. I just have one question on, what's the shelf life of this document? And obviously, a lot went into it, but how long can it be used before you have to redo it, do you think? Or is it a
2 to
living
3
document
years.
that you'll just
It's very
evolve?
flexible, 2 to 3 years.
Councilmember Keeley, it's definitely a living document. Like we do update it, obviously, from a council perspective and to the public. We update it annually as part of the organizational analysis. Obviously, positions change and services change, which is why we do these updates. It does take us some time to do the updates. So part of it is a very intentional process as we start typically in summer to go through and make those changes and make sure that we have the most up-to-date information in there. So it's some departments had very little updating to do. Other departments had a lot more, just depending on operational changes that they might have had or staffing turnover or changes. So it depends from department to department.
Prior to embarking on this, was this, Madam Mayor, or any
Yeah.
employees, but I think you've been around longer than anybody here.
22.
Has this ever been done?
We did it in 22, but before that, we never did a complete org analysis like this. Was it 22 and then we adopted it in 23?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, so the first organizational analysis we did in May of 2022 to inform the 2023 budget.
Yeah.
And then the service inventory, we actually added as part of, I think, the very next iteration of it, but we've evolved the service inventory to include what you see today, which is mapping kind of our specific
Yeah.
services and the impact of those services to jobs and the responsibilities directly. So that's evolved and kind of improved over time. The first service inventory we had as part of the org analysis was just simply the impacts and kind of
So it
each
was
of
a
the
lot
services.
thinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't remember anything this thick.
But to your point, it was 22
Yeah.
when we did this. That's the first time that we've ever done a deep dive into the organization and really understand all of the, because one of the things like in parks, I always want to understand how the seasonal help is also
Yeah,
adjusted in that, but it's not in the 349.
Correct.
The seasonal help is separate, so I think people need to understand that. The 349 is the full-time.
yes. And the whole pay structure, compensation plan is all FT equals.
And
full-time
now,
equals,
and this is the
not
first
part-time.
time that you see all of the grades, well,
Yeah.
the steps.
I notice we don't have anybody in grade 3, 4, and 5. Or is it, or 1, 2, and 3, sorry. And
Yeah.
it's or 3, sorry, 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Grade 3 is where we have
Yeah.
our starting
Yeah.
staff level.
Yeah, and I don't think in the past, we saw as comprehensive as you have here with all of the grades and the steps.
Mayor and Council, in last year's org analysis, we did include the day, there was a compensation,
Yeah.
internal compensation work last year, those, as Mike shared, they alternate, and so last year we did have, include that same table with the titles under each grade. But yes, prior to that, Mayor,
Yeah.
you're correct. So, yeah.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, one of the improvements that we made in 2024 around looking at the compensation leg of the three parts of the organizational analysis was to implement a 2-year cycle where 1 year we look at the internal alignment of the organization. That means we look at all of the systems that we use to put value or relative worth to jobs. So that means all of our managers are updating job descriptions, and HR team is going through our job evaluation process, which is just the words that we use to talk about determining what value jobs have, and then that's how jobs are categorized or slotted into those grades that you see in the organizational analysis. And then in the other year, which was last year, 2025, the focus goes then to external competitiveness, looking at the market to determine with those 14 market cities, or in the case of the fire department, in our comparable market cities, how our compensation is working. And that's where obviously tonight Mike was talking about those positions and alignment in how we look at making decisions, both operationally and then strategically, considerations for you in the future when it comes to that information. So that's been very helpful. We're now through our first 2-year cycle. I think we're finding that it's working pretty well. I will say that I know of no other city that is on such a regular schedule. So I'm very proud of our team and the amount of effort that goes into making sure that there is effectiveness in good thinking. At the end of the day, we're talking about 75+% of the city's operating budget. The vast majority of taxpayer resources are people. So that's important work, and something that I'm very proud of the team for taking as seriously as we do.
Yeah, and very well done, because, just looking at the way it's also laid out, it has a job title, so and then what is the responsibility, the essential function, and then, the focus of service, and then it goes on, and then how it affects the organizational culture. So it's laid out in like a summary of that particular job, and if you want to look at, okay, how much are we paying this person who's doing all of this? And what grade are they in? And so these three things all go together.
Correct.
Yeah.
Pretty talented group of folks on the cover.
It's
Yep,
really,
yep.
Missing Police Chief Schwartz.
We'll Photoshop her in there.
Yeah, there is.
Should add that to the list.
yeah,
In the passenger seat.
really nicely done to Greg and the
Yeah,
team.
great work.
Mike,
Like,
as I said to Bethany and Greg when I said, after I read through this, I said, this is really a big improvement from last time, and I'm trying to find my hard copy of the 22, and Bethany said, I don't think we gave you a hard
That's
copy.
why I gotta do the paper for stuff like this.
So,
This is better. 'cause then you can-
anyway, nicely done. I really liked it, so this is,
I gotta have it.
again, will be things that I will hang on to for a long time, like the others, like the 4 studies that we have. So it's good to go back and take a look at what we did, and because those studies inform the budget as we move forward. Thank you so much. Really well done. Any other comments?
Used to be able to do that.
So, without any other comments, that was the only item on our agenda for tonight. And then we have in March, we dive into the financial management plan. And then we start taking a look at all of the departments and their individual budgets and functions, this is the foundation, so when you come back, you better bring your big book, so you, it's like the Bible. Yeah, okay, thank you so much. Well, if there's no other comments or questions about this, we stand adjourned by acclamation, and thank you very much, everybody. Nicely done.